G'day guys, Clint here, recording episode number 63 of The Full Landscape with Steve Lowe from Ian Barker Landscapes. We are in our special hotel room studio here in Victoria, doing a bit of a series. Steve was kind enough to come in at short notice and talk to us about his life in landscaping. Steve has worked in London and in Australia in landscape construction. He is also the father of twins, so we have that in common. And he was very open with us in this podcast about his role as construction manager working in a landscape construction business. And I think this might really bring some value to any of you looking to hire a landscape construction specialist to take a little bit of a burden away from you as an owner, or someone maybe looking to move into that role as a 2IC in a construction business. If you've got any questions about this podcast or anything else we're doing, hit us up. And if you want to find out anything more about the team at Ian Barker Designs, Ian Barker Landscapes, Ian Barker Maintenance, we'll link up their details in the body of text. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. So, firstly, thank you for coming to our makeshift podcast studio that we've set up here at the Novotel, and especially at short notice, and especially after I had to move you because I'm shocking with organising podcasts.
No issue at all. Thanks for having me.
If you could just give us an introduction, your name and what you're doing and how you got involved in the landscape industry for our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so my name's Steve, and I look after a landscape business here in Melbourne, namely Ian Barker Landscapes. In the Ian Barker Landscapes umbrella, we have three businesses, I guess you'd call it. Design arm, a construction arm, and a maintenance arm. I look after the construction arm. So I did my apprenticeship maybe 1998 in the landscape world in central Victoria. I'm a country lad from Bendigo, and yeah, did my apprenticeship, did the 4 years there, and then I think I had a bit of a break where I went into the irrigation world, worked in the irrigation world for 3 years. In the front end, and then did my own thing in a landscape sense run my own small landscape business for 2 years, and then we went overseas for 3 years. So I spent 3 years in London, living and working out of central London, which was great. And then when we came back here, central Vic was a little bit small, so sort of parked ourselves in Melbourne, and my wife's from Melbourne, so we parked ourselves here, and that's where I, about 2008, got involved with Ian and been with him sort of ever since.
Were you doing landscaping in London?
Yeah. So living in Holland Park, virtually central London, and working for a company that sort of worked out of Notting Hill, Ladbroke Grove. But yeah, all the landscapes, I'm saying probably 90% of their stuff was central London.
What's that like? Is it high net wealth area, I'm guessing?
Yeah, a lot of traders, hedge fund guys. There's a couple of celebrities and soccer players and so forth, but predominantly hedgies, so forth. And
what are the key differences between working as a landscaper in London and working as a landscaper in Victoria?
It's a huge thing where they, I guess from a construction sense, you can pitch in London how closed in they are, and every house is sort of adjoined. So every morning you would you might get there at 7:30 and spend part of your morning setting up drop sheets and core fluid or protection works through the house, and then you wouldn't get to work until say 10 o'clock. And then the other thing is you're taking all this rubble, building material through a house. So there's no excavators or bobcats and machinery. It is predominantly just shoveling it into a plastic bag, putting that plastic bag on your shoulder, taking it through a house, dumping it on their whatever verge that they had, and then they do what's called like a weight and load over there, where basically the skip bin company comes along, they dump a bin in the middle of the street, give you 30 minutes to load it, and it doesn't matter what traffic you're blocking and so forth, and you heave these plastic bin bags into a bin as quickly as you can, and then that goes. So there's no bin permits, there's no road closures or anything like that. You just dump it in there and make people wait. So yeah, that's predominantly the biggest thing to get your head around. They call materials different stuff over there and so forth. But it was a lot of fun.
Did you ever have any altercations with people while you're holding up traffic, or are they pretty much used to it?
They're pretty much used to it. Like they can see what's going on, and they see a skip bin and they see the skip bin truck, and they might just back it back to a T intersection, or there'll be a couple of horns and two of them will reverse back or something like that. So it actually isn't too bad in that sense. You have more altercations with the parking guys over there. So the parking is red hot. Like, I don't understand the, to the minute sort of fines that they cop out of there. So yeah, but the actual people there for who they are and their time and so forth, the value of money of their time, they were pretty good.
And so what would the yardage size in London be, kind of like a quarter or a tenth of what you're doing here?
Yeah, I'd say tenth. Yeah, I'm going to say most courtyards or yards in and out of central London would be, an average size would be 8x6 max, 8x4. We did a big one for the Prince and Princess of Greece, and that was a large one down on the River Thames. They had a huge backyard that would have been, I'm going to say 45 metres long by 10, 15 wide, so just huge. Underground pool, skylight in the back lawn to the pool below. It was mental. So yeah, really good fun.
Spending that citizen money.
Correct. Yeah, correct. So no, it was great experience.
And what was the driving force? Like, usually when people move, usually when men move, it's for a woman.
Yeah. So I just gotten together with my girlfriend, subsequent wife, and she's Greek background, so she was keen on potentially going back to the motherland, and I was keen to try it out. We had friends, and I'd done a pre-trip with a couple of mates maybe a year beforehand, and thought this looks really cool. And
so England being close enough to Greece that
we could park ourselves in there and then fly out. Like, earning the pound was appealing, and certainly being exposed to that kind of work, or in around central London was.
Was it hard to get a job when you got there?
No.
Or you just walked in, big strong Aussie, country Victorian.
They tend to like their Aussies over there because you come from a working background.
Well, especially being a country Aussie, that's even another level. I mean, that's probably unfair to tar with that brush, but it seems to be a pretty consistent thing that country lads.
Yeah. And I'm going to say, in comparison to some of the English workers over there, like, you turn up on time and you don't take the mickey, so it's
And was she working as well?
She was working. She's in the eye industry, but over there was more money, more opportunity to work as like a PAEA for a hedgie.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so and the benefits that on flow from that were
the knowledge and the access to knowledge. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, and she's right into that. Like, book me a flight, buy me a gift. All that stuff is organising. She's right into that. So,
that's fun.
Yeah, it was good fun.
And you're a father of twins.
I am. Yes.
So yours are just 2 years younger than mine.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, we had the two older boys. So I've got two older boys, and then went back for
one more. That's what we did.
Yeah. So and. What I didn't know at the time was in the brochure was my wife's mum is an identical twin. Yeah. And I did not have, because there's no twins in my family at all, and so I didn't know that it was hereditary, or that there was a chance that it has perfectly skipped a generation in her side of the family. I think
as you get older, the chances increase as well.
Right.
So you've just gone, you were going to have twins. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, my wife is one of sort of four, and it landed on.
Perfect.
Landed on us, which some would say is perfect and lucky.
Oh, it's interesting. Like, I think you wouldn't change it for the world. It's not something that generally you plan, but what are you going to do?
So,
put one back like it's not.
Exactly.
You just.
Apart from the, changing to a minivan person.
My wife wasn't a massive fan. I mean, we've only got three, but we've gone with some pretty big vehicles, and now she's got a soccer mum van. Yeah. Not a massive fan. But I think it's growing on her now. She wants the new Kia Carnival. She's like, oh, that looks good. I'm like, you've changed.
Yeah. No, it is convenient in a sense that, the double pram actually sits into the van without folding it up. Just and throw it in. Yeah, the amount of shopping. We put the motorbikes, we put everything in there, and, without having to tow a trailer, so it has conveniences. I just try not to drive it wherever
Yeah. Well, you're too tall for it anyway. So you came back in 2008.
Yeah.
And what were you landscaping? So you've stayed in love with it. You're like, this is what I'm going to do, or it's just the only skill you have?
Yeah, no, well, actually, I came back with the view I'd really wanted to do my chippy apprenticeship. So I was keen on moving into the chippy field, and then I interviewed with a couple of chippies, and they said, yeah, you can go back and do your apprenticeship, but you're a bit qualified, you're a bit older. I was looking to get the house. So I was really keen on doing that, but then when I had the conversation with Ian, or I'd been introduced to him and had the conversation, it just sort of had that appeal where we could go in and do this high-end stuff, and so I subsequently did that. I'd met him over there, but he wouldn't remember that because I met him at Chelsea.
As in, he was visiting or building?
He was building Jamie Jury's garden in 2008. I hope that's correct. And so, he's doing the 2008 garden. That was his first one over there. And I was, I was in the crowd and did the walk-up handshake. But he wouldn't remember that. So then, when I came back, it was, it was a bit of an in where I could say I met you over there, but, this is who I am, this is what we do.
What did his business look like at that point? Was it, and what were you coming in as?
Yeah, so he was explained it very well that he's a very loyal person to his staff that he currently had on board or on. So he didn't actually have a position advertised. It was literally an informal chat. He said, yeah, come in, I'll have a chat to you. 2 hours later, I sort of walked out of there and he said, let's get this started next week. But the position was to come in underneath one of his site supervisors at the time, because he's very loyal. He said, I don't bring you in as a supervisor and step on anyone else's toes. You do time underneath here until a position becomes available. So I think I did that for, I'm going to say 6 to 12 months. And his business at that time, he had the business partner. And so we did design, construction, maintenance, and pools. So there was the four businesses. And he didn't have a construction manager in play. He was, Ian was a design manager and landscape construction sort of manager, and trying to juggle all these sort of hats, I'm going to say. And so it was about 6 to 12 months in. It was a case of, no, the business needs a construction manager or someone to look after that side of the business. He was still doing quotes for landscapes. He was, rosters and the whole works. So 6 to 12 months in, I think by then I'd sort of been running a couple of jobs and then slowly progressed into the office then, and sort of been there ever since.
And so you took the construction manager role.
First one, yep.
So they made a role. What did that process? Did you have to apply, or it was kind of like, yeah, this is yours. Like you're ready for it, you'd done enough time underneath the supervisors that it didn't look like it wasn't an unfair move kind of thing?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I was lucky. There was a couple of supervisors there that I was working with at the time, and they just said, fortunately, Steve's, he's ready. He's, not better than us or anything, but he's ready.
Ian would, like, they're his generals, like he takes their...
takes their word.
Advice, yep.
And I was lucky enough where they were still keen on being on the tools, or I might have had that sales / ability to quote and take that next step. I was a little bit older than them as well. So I worked as the construction manager and worked in alongside his business partner at the time, who was in the pool side of the business for, I think it was about sort of 4 or 5 years before Ian and the business partner went their separate ways. And that business partner took the pool business, and Ian kept the construction, maintenance, design. And so since then, I'm going to say for the last sort of 8 to 10 years, it's sort of fairly autonomous role. Like, it gives full control over hiring, firing, quotes that go out, financials, everything. So.
Well, so is it fair to say you're running a business inside his business?
Correct. Yep. And we have a maintenance person that does the same thing, that runs the business.
And then Ian's the design.
And we have a design manager that sort of runs that business to the extent where he reports to Ian, but Ian's predominant passion is that design.
I thought you were going to say golf.
he has a couple of passions in life.
He's
golf,
a smart man. He can spread his love.
Exactly, golf being one of them, which has grown over the last sort of 2 or 3 years, more and more so as he's freeing up his time. So, yeah, we do have a design manager though, so that looks after that side of the business and is responsible for the same thing.
How much has the business changed in those years? Like, what's that now? 50? You're coming up 15 years, or you've done
15 or 16.
Yep.
15
You get a gold
years.
watch or anything? You don't have a watch on.
Don't.
Do you want me to talk to Ian about that?
Kick in the teeth,
No.
Anything along
Just
those
carry
lines.
on.
Exactly.
Keep doing it.
So it's changed in a way. I guess his management style very, very hard when you're a young business and not turning over as much, and the profit margin's not there to see the bigger picture, and so it's changed a lot in that he's allowed himself to let others, do their thing and just get out of the road, but equally come in if there is issues or if there is problems and we need the guidance. It's still there for someone to talk to and spitball ideas or throw stuff around. So it's still absolutely a mentor and still his gig, but he allows us to sort of run the show from a day to day and report back in.
Obviously the podcast is designed to try and bring value to the landscape industry, and I think this is quite a unique opportunity to talk about having that 2IC style or like someone running your business on your behalf. So I haven't prepared questions around that, but I want to kind of to go down that path a bit. So how many staff are you responsible for?
12.
So you've got 12, and then there's the design and the maintenance. So
around about 35 staff or something all up. So it's about 12 in construction plus some admin. There might be 8 or 9 in design, and I'm going to say there's 8 or 9 in the construction arm as well.
So do you work hand in hand with those other leaders? Obviously, the design's a funnel to the construction, and the construction's a funnel to the maintenance.
Yeah.
So you guys kind of talk about how that's...
Absolutely, yeah. So it's an interesting sort of makeup, and I don't know whether it's the same with your businesses in terms of lost leaders, and you sort of need one to cater for the other. The design business, we wouldn't sort of have the workload that we do without the design business, but then design needs someone to build their gardens and hopefully build them well, so that they can get the marketing off that. And then from a construction sense, we need someone to maintain it, because there's no point in building this garden that's worth X amount of dollars and then it turning to rubbish. So we need that maintenance arm to then get the photos 4, 5, 6 years down the track. So there's that being the process. They're all different businesses, but we do speak with.
Are they the same company? They're just different.
No, different ABNs.
So they're all different. They're actual different companies.
Yeah, there's Ian Barker Garden Design, there's Ian Barker Landscapes, and there's Ian Barker Gardens, but it's all under the, I guess you'd call it the Ian Barker Gardens umbrella.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
And if your design department was outpacing your construction division, do you look to then recommend people use someone else, or are you open to that?
Yeah, we're lucky in a sense, and I don't know if I go into this, but we're lucky in a sense that design might do, I'm going to say 40 to 50 designs a year. Of those 40 or 50 designs, I only build maybe 8 to 10.
Yeah, because you couldn't physically build more, right?
Correct, yeah. So 8 to 10 gardens. And that's not to say that we wouldn't do, as a construction arm, we don't solely do Ian Barker's designs.
So you build other people's designs as well.
Other people's designs as well. So I'm lucky in a sense that we get to, pick or be involved in some of the gardens that we want to be involved in. Not necessarily that I don't want to fly the guys to Adelaide to build a garden over there. But if the opportunity arises and it's the right fit and so forth, not to say we wouldn't do it, but we're lucky that we can sort of pick our area that we almost want to work in.
As in a geography area as much as a style of build area. And
correct. Yeah. And sort of, we're lucky in a sense that we get to pick the area that we want to work in, the style of garden that we want to build, hopefully working with nice clients, and they get to see that in the design arm before we.
And are you, so you've got a team of 12. Is that pretty much fixed that's where that's going to be?
There's often been the talk of growing that. If we decide to grow it, it just means a little bit more sort of front end work. So we need another admin person or another me or a construction person to go around and physically see the more we try to grow, the drop off in quality, the more headaches, the more you're quoting, the more you're potentially losing, the more staff, everything grows. So we found that 12 is a nice fit for the amount of profit that we make without being X, and it allows us to have time outside of work, have a comfortable work-life balance while still maintaining a profit and a quality of work. So it seems to be the right number. Not to say that we wouldn't potentially look at getting another crew or taking down that path.
Do you think there's a perfect size residential, high-end residential landscape construction business?
Yeah, it's good.
Like, are you there? Do you feel like that's that 12? I mean, I talk to a lot of landscapers, and you see 2s, 4s, 6s, kind of, it goes 8s and 10s and 12s, generally even numbers, and then it goes to 20, then it goes to 50, then it goes to 100, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, and there are some pretty big businesses here, right?
Yeah.
In
So
Victoria.
we found in our realm, because we sort of work in that higher end and inner city or inner eastern sort of suburbs and so forth, that the good guys are sitting around that 10 to 12 staff, and it depends on the size of the jobs and the acreages that you've got. You're working on 1 and 2 acre blocks, then I'd say the larger staff members, you need a good quality supervisor and someone that's in control. So that 3 to 4 staff per site with a supervisor and 2 or 3 underneath him seems to be the perfect fit for that standard residential block, 800 to 1200 square metre block. Otherwise, we find if we have 5 or 6 people working on those smaller blocks, we lose people and we lose productivity. There's always someone that's lost.
So the pyramid of the staff is you above, say, 3 or 4 supervisors.
Correct. Yep.
3.
Yep.
And then they've all got 3 kind of thing.
Yep. And we have 1 or 2 floating, whereby we can load this person up when they're at certain stages of the job. We've always got someone on holiday or leave. Might be someone sick, and it seems to be that perfect number of 3 to 4 per site. Equally, we might do a courtyard in Port Melbourne or something where you only need 2 people, and we can push other staff somewhere else. So if we do get a larger job on bigger acreage, we might team 2 together or super team them. So you've got two working on 2 crews working on one site. Not to sort of leave them drown there for 12 months.
Do those teams kind of find their own level? Like there's guys that want to work with other guys, and that, or do you move them around a bit? You try and keep them together. We
move the apprentices and the guys underneath the supervisors around. We try to keep the supervisors to their own job from go to woe. Yep. But the guys underneath there, we can move around. We've worked really hard not to have that. Not try and stamp out that sort of cancerous. He can't work with him, and Timmy can't work with.
Yeah, like
Benny.
if that's the case, then you just can't work at Ian Barker Gardens.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So it is like with most people, there's a big thing in our business that culture is what sort of defines us and so forth, and we like to have that good team spirit where if we find a cancer, we sort of try and bleed them out pretty quickly.
What is your a day in the life of you look like? Obviously, you're construction manager, but you're responsible. So the term construction manager is probably not an accurate title.
Well, yeah,
like you kind of like general manager / construction manager of the construction business.
Yeah. So don't.
Not that you care. I'm not.
Don't put a tag on it or anything like that. But you're. I'm going to say you're everything. So I don't get out on the tools anymore, which is fortunate. But a day in the life could be getting to site and seeing the guys and doing the rounds of the sites in the morning, and seeing all the guys, making sure they're on schedule. Is everything okay? Have they thought far enough out in materials, and how's the staff going, and are there any issues with this? What are their questions on a day-to-day? And I might do that once or twice a week, and then on those other days it could be it's going to see new clients, so designs that are going to be or looking for quotes for construction. So it's going to see those guys to do that preliminary meeting, and then there's actual site meetings in between that with clients that we have got that sit down every 2 weeks, for instance, and go through questions and queries they have.
So you'll have that regular meeting with the client?
Yeah, we try and book it in every couple of weeks at least, and maybe even more in the initial phases and so forth, because there's always stuff.
What's a build time generally going to be for you guys, like 3 months?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I'd say that's a good average. Yeah, 3 to 5 months. Yeah, there's not many smaller than sort of 2 months.
So what, you might hit weeklies or 10 days for the first 3 meetings and then kind of...
Correct, as things settle down and so forth. Or, depending on the client, a lot of the questions get taken out of the realms early on in the project and so forth, but then just leave us alone. You guys are fine. So.
Well, you build trust in those early meetings and they just leave you alone.
Exactly. Yeah, if they can see that you're organised, the guys are on site and turning up when they should, and they're respecting their property, respecting their space, it goes a long way. And those initial sort of 3 days we sort of deem to be the most important on a project.
Is that something you guys talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone talks about the 1 and 2 percenters, but radio noise, where the guys park, cement splatters on houses, how they treat the existing property walking in and out.
I'm guessing smoking toilets,
all these things that sort of play a part. How we look from the street. So it can be our next biggest client might be the person walking past and sees the guys that are in uniform, turning up and respectful and so forth, or how they speak on site when the neighbour's listening over the fence. So all these things sort of get talked about, and we call them the 1 percenters, but it make a big difference to us if it goes the other way.
And how is that managed? Like, if you obviously you'll hear, if you hear or see something that's not in line with, are they written down? Like, have you got like some written rules around that, or it's just
we talk about it in inductions,
yep.
And then we have staff meetings every so often. I'm going to say once
as required.
Yeah, as required. We have supervisor meetings where I sit down with the supervisors at least once a month, and we talk about any incidents that have happened on site. Learnings from one site to another, like. John's made a mistake over here, but that could happen to all of us. So it's not about penalising the mistake. It's just about making sure that we don't do it 3 times.
Yep.
So we talk about that. We talk about, the staff, how we can improve, how everyone's going. Are there any issues that we can see internally? But, equally talk about those 1 percenters.
Obviously, you've mentioned that Ian kind of is in a position where he lets you run your own race. Do you emulate that with your site supervisors?
A little bit, yeah, depending on what stage of their development they are. And we, I don't want to throw them in the deep end whereby they're going to sink, but equally sort of give them enough rope and see them enough whereby we try and arrest any sort of big bombs or anything that's going to go off prior to them making it. Equally, we see the mistakes as being good. They need to make mistakes to grow and to learn and so forth. So we can't give them all the answers. What we're hopefully good at and become better over the time at is, allowing them to find the issue and then come up with options as to how they would, rather than just giving people answers all the time. Our big mantra is come up with the options, think of the 3 options, but more importantly, give me the one that you would have gone with. And then after you do that process for 6 months, 12 months, you see that they're making good decisions, 9 out of 10 times, you sort of give them more rope.
What advice would you give to business owners that are in Ian's position in 2010, 2012, whenever the decision was made, if they are looking to put someone in a construction manager role or a general construction manager role or whatever title I'm going to give you, what advice would you give to those business owners from, I guess, your experience with how it's worked for you guys? And obviously there might be some unique dynamics that you and Ian just work really well together and it's just a beautiful thing, but obviously if there's people listening that are like, I need that guy, what should they be thinking and doing?
Yeah, it's a tough one because the margins, it feels like the margins are so tight when you are that person that's going from, being a 6-person operation to, potentially growing to 12, and you've got so much pressure on that, the quotes that go out, like if I make a mistake or we make a mistake, it's fairly costly, and that's not my money, but you take that responsibility. So it's sort of hard to say to that person because there's still so many business owners out there that aren't like Ian and can hand off that responsibility. find the right person that you think is going to drive the culture, and entrust them with the power to make mistakes. It's going to cost your business a little bit of money in the short term, but I think long term, being able to give you that flexibility in your lifestyle, and I think it's very important.
Do you think in the landscaping industry that it is a safer and more realistic version of idea to train your role than hire your role?
If you've got the ability to train it, and we're always looking, or I'm always looking for someone to replace me, as Ian is to replace him. So we're currently going through that phase at the moment where we've earmarked a couple of people to sort of move into that role, and they might not move in straight away, but a couple of days a week. These are the processes and so forth that are in place. Once we can tick those off, and the guys respect you and so forth, sort of handling them more and more responsibility. So.
I think that's a really important point that a lot of business owners aren't thinking about, is having a funnel of succession in all of those jobs. Like, where's your next staff member coming from? And I met with a business owner today who's, he said he's probably 3 years away from retirement, and he hasn't thought about it. And his, the people that help him with his finances are like, you need to write down an actual plan for this. Otherwise, in 3 years, we are still having the same conversation, and it's not happening. So, it's good to hear that, especially in the landscape industry, and hopefully it helps some of the other guys out there that are,
it's an interesting one, because it's the old mentality of no one can build it as good as me. So when you're a business owner and you've built this baby up, it's a really tough thing to say, no, here you go, here's my baby, don't break her. I fought for a while to sort of get off the tools, because I'm not going to give it to this guy because he can't build it as well as me. And it's like, I built this business up to X. Why am I, letting this guy run it? He can't do it as well as I can. And no one can do it as well as you can, but you need to hand that over to let them learn and to try and to fail. And then if you, mentor that, I think you can, then the business can grow. And slowly, and you're spot on, like with that strategic plan or that exit plan. If you don't start talking about it and putting some stuff in place, you'll never, just keep treading the wheel.
Is there a plan for you to step up another level in the company? Is that the desire, or you're just conscious of it?
Yeah, I'm conscious of it. So there is an option to do that, but there's equally, we're looking at options outside the business. So businesses outside the business that we can, I can move away and put my time over here while still keeping an eye on this over here and helping whoever does this role.
But then being able to make sure that your desire for growth and development doesn't get kind of burnt out.
Correct.
Like you get to go chase those.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I don't want to finish next Monday and just hand the ball over. I'd really like that transition whereby I can still, because I still enjoy, the stuff that we do and the projects that we build. So, and I enjoy the business side of it more now than I do, the day to day.
The landscaping. Like you could do, I guess putting words in your mouth. I don't mind what business I'm in as long as I'm in business. It just happens that it's irrigation. Yeah. But the more I do it, the more I just love the concept of the game. Yeah. The numbers and the testing and the improvements, and
find it really emotive. And I did in the early stages, because we deal with a lot of people that are a lot more educated than what we are. And so you get these, business owners that take you down this path of, they've trapped you in a corner with the email, with the, communication. But then you look back on it, and as angry as you get, and you can see it, it just teaches you not to walk down this path again. So you get better at the processes, hopefully, and not walking down that pathway.
That pathway is an MBA. It's just done on the street, and it still costs $100,000. That's all it is, and you don't have to go to uni.
Yeah, But it costs the business.
It costs the business. Well, it's not. And I'm sure Ian probably had the same situation where he crossed that, and
so that side of things I enjoy more now than I thought I would 10 years ago, when you're in the midst of it and so forth and finding yourself in that rat hole.
Have you you're not involved in the Mifkus garden builds this year. Your business isn't doing anything.
No, not this year. No,
But you have been in the past.
Yeah, we've done quite a few. So we did. I think my first Mifkus one was maybe. Or maybe we did one in 2011. It was just a little, I'm going to say show garden. But then we did 4 in a row from 2000, I'm going to say 2014, 15, 16, 17, or along those lines. It might be correct if I'm wrong. So, yeah, we did 4 in a row there. Yeah, hugely, I'm going to say stressful. It's big organisational thing when you're doing the bigger show gardens and so forth and getting those things.
Your twins were born in 19?
Yeah, actually, and I've got that wrong. So you're right. So they were born, I think, on the last, almost the last show garden we did. So it might have been 16, 17, 18, 19.
Because we were here for that garden, the
floating one over the water.
We came over that year. Yeah, because 20 we couldn't come.
Yeah.
20 it got cancelled that March.
Yeah.
Like right the month before we were going to come. Everyone thought it was still going to happen. I was so bullish that it was going to happen. I'm like, I'm going anyway, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 19 must have been about the last.
Yeah.
And again, we decided to take on a build.
Yeah,
on
your
top
wife's
of,
pregnant with twins and you're like,
Exactly.
Why not?
Exactly.
She won't mind.
Knee deep in a renovation. We were moving back into a house that we'd been out of for a year. Twins were born. It was just incredibly tiring and very misty time of my life. So
twins are you meet people and they're like, oh, we've got 2 kids. We know what twins would be like, and you're like, okay, cool. I think
I still want to meet the person, or I haven't met shaking hands with the person that's got triplets or quads or something. To just feel good about myself. Yeah,
mate,
exactly.
We have, and in South Australia. When my wife was on the committee for the Multiple Births Association, so there's an association that supports families that have had 2 or more children in one birthing situation, and there was a lady and a man who had twins, triplets, and 1. So I think they had 1, then 2, then 3.
Wow!
And so we'd go to these Christmas picnics, and everyone there was just like, because you get a group of twin mums together, and they all complain about how shit their twins are and their husbands. And then I'm like, hang on a second, you need to shut up.
Exactly.
This lady over here,
exactly,
her twins are the easy ones. She's got triplets as well. So,
crazy.
look, I think that's probably a good indicator. Like, it's a good example of there's always someone in a worse situation.
But in your situation, when you had the twins and the business,
it's nuts.
This level?
We had some really scary times.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of, if you have a, you've got, and you know what it's like when one's not sleeping or the other one's sleeping, or they both wake each other up. And we split our twins up quite early, like they were 6 months, and we put them in separate rooms because it was just, they would disturb each other. And because we'd had children before, we were probably a little bit more ruthless with our parenting than we might have been if they were our first children. But then you've got the business. I mean, so Connor and Lucy were born in 17. So we kind of only had one business then. But you have, you lose, I don't remember. I think it might have been when Jack was young, but Waterpro lost about $25,000 across 2 months, and then Celeste was having a lot of trouble with the kids, and I was trying to make sure that I didn't let that die or that die.
Yeah.
Huge. There's no book for it, right? No. Like you go to the hospital and they teach you how to get a baby out of a person, and then they go, have a nice day. And you leave. Yeah. And you're like, whoa. Where's the 12-month orientation of keeping them alive for the first 12 months or 12 weeks or 12 days?
Let's take that midwife with us.
Yeah.
So she can come back and sort of cuddle.
Put one of them on staff.
Jeez. So
we had all of our kids in a private hospital, and I've heard like how quickly public hospitals kind of stamp the ticket and ask you to carry on, which is probably not unhealthy, but we were there 7 days with the twins. Yeah. Sandwiches every day, and what drink would you like? Can I have a lemonade and a beer? Of course, sir. And you're like, this is amazing.
Yeah, dishes to do. No,
but then it's just you walk out that elevator and the sliding doors close behind you, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, 100%.
This is us now.
100%.
And then your business calls, or one of your staff calls, and you're like,
they're off sick. You're sleep deprived.
Yep. Alarms going off.
Yeah.
Yep. So
really. Really, really tough times. And you can really appreciate what the wives do and so forth. It's not to be undersold.
No. And 4's a good age now. Like they're turning 4 today.
today.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's for people watching and listening. If I can't cut this podcast off in 20 minutes, it's because Steve has a birthday party to get to, and I'm eating into family time. But yeah, 4's a beautiful age. Like, you know, they still kind of love you as much as they're ever going to, and they're very respectful, but they can communicate and they can do their own things and they can get their own food and they can wipe their own ass and all that other stuff that you're like, oh, this is great. This is just this is that perfect age.
Little window.
And then ours are 6 and.
So are they good sleepers? Yours?
Yeah, we one of Celeste's really good friends is a sleep consultant.
Yeah.
And I guess this is the Landscape podcast, but let's talk about sleep consultants. She single-handedly changed our lives, and every time I meet someone who's struggling with their children sleeping, I say, call Kelly and talk to her and have a consultation. I shit you not, I'll pay for it because I'm so confident that it will work and it will change your life. And then if it changes your life, you give me the money back. Yeah. A lot of mums, from what I've found with the friends that I've recommended it to, are very concerned about sleep consultants because they worry about controlled crying being the technique, but it's not that at all. It's her giving you, you know, if you didn't know how to lay a tile, right, you'd go learn how to lay a tile. Yeah. We don't know how to get these kids to sleep, but no one's willing to go learn how to do it. Yeah. And so she taught us what they should be eating and when. You know, we were moving sleep times by 10 or 12 minutes to change things how they went.
Right.
And now they sleep, and they have ever since their stomachs was big enough to hold enough food to not be hungry during a sleep period. Yeah, they've slept through. And you know, you still get those moments where one will wake up because they'll hear a noise or whatever. But now at 6, they'll sleep 11 hours straight. Yeah, right. And my 9-year-old will do 12. Like, he's a sleep animal.
And what stage were they sleeping through the night?
It was not early. Like it was I think it was in the years more than the months. You know how some people are like, my child's 6 months and it sleeps all the
throw rocks at them.
What are you talking about? Yeah. It was later, but we got big kids. I mean, our kids, we had twins born at 3 kilos each, kind of thing.
Wow, yeah.
Like, that's heavy for two at once. Like, we're not. My wife and I aren't small humans. I mean, you're not exactly a tiny human either. But they eat, and you know they would be hungry all the time. So but now they sleep. But now they sleep until they wake up and walk in and go, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, and you're like. 4 was beautiful.
Yeah.
Simple times.
How are you managing time now with the businesses and the sort of the kids' life? Is that?
I did a video about this the other day. I make sure that anything that's important to me gets put in a calendar.
Yeah.
Connor and Lucy are both playing T-ball now. Jack plays basketball and baseball, so he's training. You know, basketball's 2 trainings a week plus games on Sundays. Baseball's 2-hour training on a Friday plus games on Saturdays. Celeste plays softball. Lucy does gymnastics. Celeste works for the business. I'm doing this and working. So all I do is go, that time is this, that time is this, that time is this, and the calendar just gets slammed. Yeah. And then I just find that it leaves no time for me to be a piece of shit. So I don't go to a footy game and just get drunk and rock up home whenever I want, or if I'm out. Like we went out, Celeste and I went out for dinner with friends, and it was midnight, and she was having the time of her life because she hadn't been out for so long, and she's with her friends, and she's like, let's go dancing. I'm like, we have to go now. And she's like, no, like she didn't want to go. And I was like, if we don't leave now, it was midnight, we leave at 2. There's no gap, right? The next time is 2. Yeah. You are coaching. She's like a team manager for the baseball team. So at 8:15 we had to be at an hour's drive away from our house, and we got home at midnight. No, I think it was a home game, so it wasn't too bad. But I was like, trust me, we can't do this anymore. I would love to and not have to wake up for a child emergency or a game. But I think it's just about prioritizing the things that matter to you, as you did today, right? You managed to get here, and you're like, but at 5 o'clock, I'm going home because I've got things that are important. Yeah. That's how I do it.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And you have great support, right?
Yeah.
Like you've
very,
got
very lucky
team members, well, as in we do, you probably do. You've got an understanding boss. Yeah. You know, Celeste and I have a calendar of what we're doing for the children as well. So she's like, I need you to be here at this time, and I'll be there at that time. And I just don't compromise on that. And
family that's close?
Yep. So my mum and my stepdad live like in the next suburb, and her parents are, 10 or 12 minutes away. So
really close and helpful.
Yeah, we've got that around. And then her dad is a life member at the baseball club that the kids play at. So they're very like... we're pretty involved in the club now because the kids all play. Yeah. So then they're there a lot, and you know, if we need, so I think Friday the 3rd we've got an event that we're going to. So her parents will pick up the kids. We just plan it. Like you just kind of, I know what I'm doing on March 10th and October 19th. And it's just there, and then you just make sure it happens. And And then I make mistakes sometimes, and I just I I just apologize like crazy, and
that happens.
But I think if you have good intentions as a human being, as a father, as a husband, as a business owner or an employer, and you make a mistake, people know that you had good intentions. You weren't trying. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone by not making it to that event.
Yeah,
I just stuffed up.
Yeah.
So
it's challenging.
Mm-hmm. So did you get involved in any Chelsea stuff, or is that like?
No, so that
was all
that's an interesting one. So when I came back into the business, I'm going to say 2008. That was the first year that they did their first build, and then Ian was really keen to get back and take the business partner at the time back over there. So they did 2010. They did another one for another business here. They did the build component of it. So 2010, it might have been Scott Wine, the TLC garden over there. So they went over for that build, but both of them went over and took one or two people in the business. But I sort of had to stay home and
because you were the boss,
hold the fort for the
Thanks, guys.
month or so. Yeah. So that was
that's a very bittersweet moment, because that says you are the guy that we trust to keep you here.
It is, but at the same stage,
I want to go to Chelsea.
Exactly. I'd love to be back over there. And then 2011 was Ian's design, so he actually, we got to do the actual design, and again took virtually the whole crew over, or a lot of the crew.
Yeah, just not you.
Just not me, and so forth.
You enjoy that though, like that. You can hear the way you're talking about it. Like you'd love to be back there. Like
garden shows are a bittersweet thing for me, because they're so much work in such a little period of time, and you have this feeling of, have you thought of everything in every scenario, and the things that could possibly go wrong, and if this goes wrong, what do I have to cover?
There's
that?
No edit, right?
Exactly, and it's even on a magnitude scale over there when you're putting everything in a shipping container. You built something, pull it apart, putting it in a shipping container, sending it, 1,000 miles across the Atlantic. Have I got this spare? Have I got this? It's a pretty stressful, and there's so much on the line. So I don't love them. Do I miss them? When I haven't done one for 2 or 3 years, I'm now just coming around. But when you're knee deep in it and going, never do this again. I
guess it's hard being away from home as well. You don't have the support of your loved ones in those tough times, but you also don't have your network to leverage off and go, hey, I need this here now. Can you help me out? And you've got no favours there, right?
Correct.
You're fresh, and
The one thing though with those MIFCUS and or Chelsea groups, so that it's the camaraderie that you get from the other people around you. You can see which gardens are struggling. And it's the first thing you want to do is, help out with a staff member. Or are you okay? What do you need? Is there anything we can help you with? We try to be organised. Where if we're going okay into the last couple of days, just give them a couple of staff members.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like, get it over the line. The last thing you want to see is have someone fall on their face like a couple of days out after investing so much.
What's the general goal when building a garden at Chelsea?
Well, the goal is to build the best garden you can, but to get a gold medal.
Yeah. So gold's if you get a gold, you've
hit the pinnacle, and that is the pinnacle of garden shows over there. So getting
a gold worldwide,
and
Chelsea's the world's most revered.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, 100%. So you get a gold, like you're at the top of the tree, and then there's that one level above where you get a best in show. And
there's one
best in show. They might hand out one gold. They might hand out 10, 15 golds.
Okay, or there could be none. Yeah, so then there's always a best in show. In MIFCUS, there's a gold medal, then there's a construction award, so best constructed garden, and there's a plants award where the best planted, best horticultural sort of garden, and then they have a best in show. What matters to you most about the MIFCUS awards? What would, if you had to target one, does construction mean a lot to you because of your background? Or
it does, yeah, but we still haven't won. We've won a few golds, but we've never won a best in show.
So that's the one.
So I think that's the next level, yeah. And then there's obvious things of how much money do you want to throw at this thing, to get that, so they can be.
Well, it's obviously a lot less than the Chelsea garden, right?
It is, yeah, but then a lot less sponsorship. There's man hours and so forth involved and so forth.
As in, if you go to Chelsea, someone will jump on board.
Yeah, you normally get a few people to jump on board with bigger money and bigger
international brands.
Yeah, it's more exposure and so forth. But then, from a business sense, you're not having many people walking around in London sort of saying
that are coming back to Adelaide or Melbourne. Yeah.
Correct. To actually say, I'm going to build a garden with you. So, and you never can judge or quantify that. I don't think, specifically we've got anyone that's been walking around the show garden sort of Mifkus say, hey, I like that, I'm going to go build a garden. We've only got the photos from the flower show. You put them on the website then gets, so it's very hard to quantify that.
I don't think you can fair and reasonably build a garden with an expected return on investment. We had a conversation recently about podcasting, and someone said, what's the return on investment of your podcast? And I said, it's not why I do it, and it's not... there's no direct relationship. There's indirect stuff that happens. I get to meet you, and then who knows? One day you'll be in Adelaide. Well, recently we play golf, or I'll come here and I'm like, I'm stuck for advice and I can call you. But it doesn't sell stuff. And I think it's the same with the gardens, right?
100%.
You might win the biggest job you've ever won.
Correct.
But if you enter into it with that in mind, you might not do the most pure version of it.
Yeah, correct. So you can design to your style and what you want to see your brand as, or you can go crazy on something and that might have an adverse effect for someone that's walking around going, there's no way known I'd build that and it's disgusting.
But it's you testing design boundaries and being at the forefront of something that no one's seen yet.
Building a garden over the lake, there's some pretty cool stuff that we hopefully have in the wings for gardens, but we can spend 2 and 3 years sort of preparing for a Mifkus garden. In 2 or 3 years. It needs to start now in terms of plant stock, trees and stuff that we want to build needs to be grown now to sort of go into these gardens. So that's
that you don't have to answer this if you can't, but there'll be another Ian Barker design garden in the coming years at Mifkus.
We hope so. Yeah, if not next year, it would, I'd dare say the year after that would be, definitely would be something that we're looking at doing. Yeah, for sure.
Is there other companies that you want to be going up against? I know you're not. It's technically not against, but there is Best in Show that you're going. Like, if you won Best in Show, would there be others that you'd want to make sure were there? And you don't have to give names. Yeah. But there's got to be some other competitors that you're like, if I won Best in Show and they were there as well, that means more.
Yeah, I guess there is.
Is there that? Like, it's... And don't throw out anyone under the bus, but you know what I mean?
I guess there is, and there's that if that happened, then great. But, equally the Best in Show can be very subjective.
Yeah, because it's just 4 people's opinions, right?
Exactly, and they're all 4 people from different backgrounds. Yeah. One person can love the planting stock and so forth, and this person's looking at the bricks and mortar. Yeah. So it's hard to quantify. There needs to be a few factors that go right in terms of your stock that you plant. It's in flower at the right time of year, and you have adverse weather conditions, and so there's a multitude of things that sort of need to go right to get one.
Do you guys enter the Landscape Victoria Awards of Excellence?
We have in the past. Yeah, we didn't do much this year, but we have in the past. Yeah, we've submitted projects and so forth. So,
would you only enter them if you had one that you would consider a winner? Like you'll choose the jobs and go, yeah, this is one that we want to enter.
Yeah, we flag those ones when we're building them, or after they've been built and the client, like the maintenance on them is up to scratch and so forth.
Because that's a big part of it. You've got some years after the build to be able to...
Correct.
To enter.
Yeah. They're not entered, within that first year. It's sort of that, 4 to 5 years where they're sort of getting to that maturity whereby you...
So it's kind of finding a balance between the deterioration of the build and the growth of the plant.
Spot on. Yep. Yeah. So construction, grout can be starting to disappear, or movement in ground and cracking. Pavers are dirty or stained, or so there's that fine line of
which is what 2, 3.
4 and 5. Yeah, I reckon.
Okay.
Yeah, so garden, I reckon it's probably in its peak. I reckon from that 5 to 8 year mark is where trees are at that nice stage. And
do you know what the statute of limitations on entering is? Is it 10?
I think it's 5.
It's 5, so you have to go on the 5th.
5 from the time that you finish, or the 5 from the time that you've contracted. But I think it's 5 years. Yep. I might be corrected if I'm wrong there, but yeah.
What does it mean to the business or to businesses in Victoria if they win an award like that? Do you think it moves the needle, or do you think that not enough public are seeing that? Yeah,
not enough of the public are seeing that. You can you can advertise it, and everyone advertises, award-winning gardeners, award-winning landscapers, so everyone can advertise that. But yeah, for us with the social media and so forth out there now, if you have that body of work that you're able to put on the website.
Well, I was looking at like the Instagram page is 37.8 thousand. Like that's a decent following.
Yeah, we got hacked there a couple of years ago, and we went
really?
back to zero. Yeah, we went back to zero. So we've only just gotten back. We were at 31 or 32,000, maybe 33,000 when we got hacked and lost them all. So we basically went back to square zero a couple of years ago. And so
from what the top 20 photos or whatever I looked at, it looked very plant heavy. Yeah. Is that a big part of Ian's style and your builds?
Yeah, 100%. So it is more plant-focused gardens. Like you'll notice with different designers, and certainly a lot of the top designers, they all have their little niche.
There's like an accent or a signature.
Yeah, some are very hardscape focused and detail in floating benches and floating stairs, and very hardscape with softer plantings. And then there are quite a few that are more predominantly planting and perennials and greenery absolutely everywhere. And then there's some that balance it really well. So you can, for a lot of these designers, they can walk into a garden or walk down a street. And this is built by Sally, this one's built by Barry, this one's built by da-da-da. You can tell the style just by peeking over the fence. And a lot of these other designers actually give other designers work. So they'll go to a consult and say, Ian will walk into one and they'll say, we really like natives and we love this gum and we love this. And he'll say, look, this is not for me. You're better off to speak to this person.
That's amazing.
So, and they'll do the same thing back.
It's a beautiful thing because it shows that Ian doesn't have a fear of missing out or a scarcity mentality. Yeah. And by doing that, it massively benefits the industry as a whole, and if you can find some reciprocal on that, it's very impressive. So and do the same thing going back. They do the same thing or recommend. There's often ones that come through from other designers to say that I spoke with this guy, but he recommended you. So, did you play in the Landscape Victoria Golf Day?
Did.
How'd you
go? Not so great. Yeah.
Did you have an Ian Barker team?
We didn't have an Ian Barker team. Ian played, and we played with, I guess we're going to call it the Old Boys Club. So there was another old landscaper from down Peninsula way, Bruce Winstanley, and an associate of Ian's back here, so another old boy, Rod. Yep. Rod Hanley.
Did you guys have a pretty low handicap? Was it Ambrose?
It was Ambrose, yeah. So no, we didn't have a really low handicap. The other two boys were sort of off the 24.
Legit 24s, isn't that? Oh, that's good.
24 to 28 mark. And
perfect.
Yeah. So there's the pros and cons. You can have the real low markers. And
I actually have to build a team. I've got one on the 10th, I think. Yeah.
10th back there?
Yeah.
At which course?
Grange. At Grange, which is quite interesting because it's that's a month before Live,
right.
So it should be really cool. Yeah. Oh, it's always tip top, but yeah, it'll be cool. Like there'll be a different vibe, I think. And I'm playing off 30.1 or something at the moment, so my handicap there will be 36.
Yep.
And so I found a guy. I actually have to still contact them, and this will come out after that anyway. But there's a guy that I want to play who's a golf course super that's playing off +1 at the moment, I think.
Right.
And so I'm going to build like a 36, a +1, and grab maybe a 9 and a 16, or a couple of 9s, or an 8 and a 9. And
so you're lucky in that if you can build that, because you can obviously hit the ball, and as a 30,
I can par.
But you can equally get a few drives
get a few
away.
Shots. Yeah. I'll get my 3 drives. Like some of them, of 18, I'm going to get 3.
Yep. So we had a couple of guys that I'm saying 24. That was the maximum handicap. They may have been north of that by
because
double.
I have a genuine GA of 30.1. I'm allowed to use it.
You're allowed to use it.
So yeah.
So no, they're good fun. I enjoy the Ambrose, and we're just talking to Ian about it yesterday. I actually enjoy it more so. You might, for those that are listening, very boring, but like the +1 guy normally tees off last. The guy that's off the lowest handicap and so forth. And, in my view, I love it where you get to tee off last and you watch this plus handicap and you might slice one or miss one in the fairway. And just seeing that pressure build. The same when you're putting. If you're putting last and that pressure builds and builds and builds, I like to see people in that environment.
I think it's a good way to play golf for people that aren't, elite at golf. Like you kind of get to grab the ball and go have a shot, and you're
Yep.
talking and you're networking, and
Yep.
the game's pretty quick still.
Yep.
You know, you're definitely punching out a 4-hour or less round, and
Yeah, it's not very often when you're on the higher handicaps that you get to shoot under par. So so it's really cool if you're playing off 20s and 30s to sort of hand a card in that's 5, 6, 10 under par,
Yeah, it's
and
nuts.
go, wow, how cool's that? So yeah, they're really good fun.
we are at the end of our hour. Obviously, we need to get you in your car to go celebrate the birth of your sons.
Girls,
Girls,
fraternal.
daughters.
Yeah, you're fraternal.
No, boy got boy girl.
Boy, girl.
So yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Very easy to tell the difference. Don't have any issues with like being labelled as twins at school as such. Like, because they're very, sometimes they can be like, oh, the twins are doing good.
Yeah.
Which one's doing what?
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to promote at the moment? The things that you guys are working on? The things you want to talk about?
No, we're
And just bring out a book or something?
No, there's no book. There's
No memoirs?
No memoirs. There's no coffee table book. There's no nothing. No, we're trying to check along, and I say do the same. We're always looking for improvements and so forth and things, ways to do things better. But just promoting and trying to train the younger people in the industry and so forth to, keep the ball rolling in the right direction. It's becoming more and more professional, and there's better work, better designs out there, and the property prices sort of justify those designs, and people are building or getting engaged in those outdoor spaces. So COVID's been a blessing in a sense that people have learned to appreciate those outdoor spaces even more, and spending more time at home, and not wanting to spend that money, but understanding that money spent, creates this lifestyle. So it's been really interesting.
It's very interesting that our last guest said that COVID was great, and I was like, what? And it was Megan from LV. She was talking about its impact on how the judging of the awards was changed, the way that they did it. And she's like, so it's interesting to hear you say something like similar, that I guess it was a bit of a speed hump that caused a different view on things, and it's been a positive for your industry. So hugely. We found that the people, they weren't traveling overseas, or they didn't have that holiday, so they living at home and seeing how their space operates and so forth, they got more involved with. Did that. We just bought our neighbour's backyard off of them to be able to expand our backyard, because I don't want to move. We like our house, and we like our location, but it enables us to complete the amenities that we desire or require to be able to live at home for long periods of time and not worry. Like, build your holiday at home almost, and you can still go on holidays later. But at least you're coming home to. There's nothing worse than going and staying in a resort and then coming home and your house is shitter than your holiday.
Yes, exactly.
Especially if you've got the means to make
the
house your holiday.
So you got the pool, the lawn, the cubby house.
Well, we're about to build a gym and a tennis court.
And then it's done. Back there.
Yeah. So if you're looking down to the backyard on the right hand side, we bought 200 square meters. We're going to build a little, maybe a 40 or 50 square meter gym, and then put a basketball court, for the kids.
Gotcha.
Because the boys played ball, so
still have your section of lawn though.
The lawn can't go anywhere.
Right.
Well, it can only go up.
Right. If we get rid of the glyphosate.
Well, we've got to stop putting so many chemicals out, but it's been a very organic year this year. So anyway, I better let you get out of here. Thank you so much for your time. If anyone's interested in seeing more of what Steve does, it's through Ian Barker Designs Instagram page, website. You're the silent achiever, I guess.
Just a small cog in the wheel.
The big cog in the wheel. Yeah. Well, the small cog does more work, doesn't it?
That's it.
Anyway, I'll let you get out of here. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks so much.